And Ugandan activists want a 2009 bill governing marriage implemented. Hello and a warm welcome to Africa Live on CGTN. I'm Lindy Mtongana in Nairobi. Also coming up this half hour. Libya's eastern-based parliament rejects a deal that would see Turkish troops sent to the country. And in sports, South Africa's women's football team hosts AC Milan captain Valentina Giacinti at Soweto's soccer club. In our top story, we start in Iran, where hundreds of thousands of people took to the streets to take part in the funeral ceremony of the country's top general, Qasem Soleimani. Soleimani's body was carried from the city of Avaz to Mashhad, a holy city in Iran's northeast. He was killed on Friday in a U.S. drone strike near the Iraqi capital, Baghdad. Meanwhile, Iran says its response to the killing of General Soleimani will be harsh enough to make the United States regret its actions, but will stop short of provoking war. At a news conference on Sunday, Foreign Ministry spokesman Abbas Mousavi said Iran was ready for any scenario. He said those who urge restraint should direct their calls to the Americans, and he said those who seek violence should first think about the consequences. Well, earlier we spoke to Syed Mohamed Morandi, a professor at the University of Tehran. He shared his thoughts on the huge outpouring of support for Soleimani and those killed in the attack and its implications.
The funeral procession went through two cities so far, and these cities are not the Iranian capital, and hundreds of thousands of people took part in each city alone. And it's believed that in Tehran we'll have millions of people. So he is immensely popular. But interestingly, in Iraq, where the funeral procession went through Baghdad and two other key cities, the funerals were also extraordinarily massive, and it shows how popular he and Abu Mahdi al-Mohandes, his Iraqi companion, who side by side led the defeat of ISIS. It shows how popular they are both in Iran and Iraq. And this is a major miscalculation by the Trump regime. What they've basically done is that they've united the Iraqi people against the U.S. occupation, because the United States has carried out an act of war both against Iran and against Iraq. Of course, countries like Britain, Germany, and Canada, which are more or less sidekicks to the United States, they are going to side with the United States. But in truth, these countries helped the United States create ISIS. They helped destroy Syria. And they also aided the United States in supporting extremists and also destroying Libya. And also they helped the United States and the Saudis destroy Yemen. So no one expects them to take a moral stance here. But the fundamental issue is that the Iranians will not let this go unanswered. The Iranian public expects it, and the Iraqi public expects it. The U.S. has occupied Iraq. It ignores the Iraqi prime minister. It ignores its agreements with Iraq. It murders Iraqi soldiers on the front lines with ISIS and on the border in Syria. And it now murdered a senior Iraqi commander as well as a senior Iranian commander right beside the Baghdad International Airport.
Well, let's turn to news here in Kenya. The Lamu airstrip that had been closed following an attack on a military base has now been reopened. Al-Shabaab has claimed responsibility for that dawn attack. The base, located in the coastal county of Lamu near the Kenyan-Somali border, hosts both Kenyan and American forces. CGTN's Daniela Pearson reports from Nairobi.
The terrorist group Al-Shabaab carried out an attack on a military target on Manda Island in Kenya's Lamu County. The incident at Camp Simba took place in the early hours of Sunday morning. Witnesses watched the drama unfold from neighbouring Lamu Island, a top tourist destination but close to the border with Somalia, where Al-Shabaab is based. The group said in a statement that the base is home to hundreds of U.S. military personnel and Kenyan soldiers, and serves as one of the many launch pads for the American crusade against Islam in the region. Kenya's defense forces reported a 5:30 a.m. security breach at Manda airstrip near Camp Simba. The KDF statement says that 4 terrorist bodies have been found and that the fire was under control. But a military source said that fighting was still ongoing several hours after the airport security breach. The source also said that fighters were attempting to access the base from the airstrip. The U.S. military has confirmed the attack. In a statement, a spokesperson for U.S. Africa Command acknowledged the incident and said that it was monitoring the situation in Kenya. The Al-Qaeda affiliate frequently launches attacks in Kenya. This latest incident comes just days after a suspected Al-Shabaab attack, also taking place in Lamu County. Gunmen killed 3 passengers on a bus traveling from Mombasa to Lamu town. Daniela Pearson, CGTN.
Well, let's bring you an update on this story. We're now joined by journalist Mohamed Mohamed in Mogadishu. Mohamed, has there been any further communication from Al-Shabaab since that statement released earlier today?
Well, it was a very busy day for Al-Shabaab's online media, Al-Katab, putting updates on what was going on in Lamu. Well, apart from claiming the responsibility of the attack, Al-Shabaab said they have destroyed military equipment belonging to Kenyan military and their counterparts, the United States. They say they destroyed military aircraft and vehicles belonging to Kenyan troops and the U.S. counterparts. So there's been no much development on that, but the group's media has been very busy today, unlike the previous attacks that happened here in Mogadishu, where 80 people were killed, where the group was silent for the past maybe 3 days before claiming the responsibility for the attack.
And of course, that was a very devastating attack in Mogadishu just barely a week ago. Do you think that these incidents are in any way related?
Well, there is not much connection on this because in the first attack which happened here in Mogadishu, the intended target was missed and it inflicted a lot of harm into civilian casualties. That is what led the group to be silent for more than 3 days before claiming the responsibility. But this attack in Lamu, the military airfield that jointly hosted the United States and the Kenyan troops, was maybe a target for the group because the group attacking a military base hosting a country, the United States, that carries out an airstrikes against Al-Shabaab is very significant to the group, because U.S. airstrikes has been the only military here, in international military here, which has been very effective in destroying the group's capabilities to carry out attacks before. So to add on that, this attack, if you look at for the past 5 years, it has been coming on the eve of the new year, starting from January 2016, where the group attacked Kenyan military camp inside Somalia at El Ade. In 2017, also they attacked a base in Kulbio in Jubaland. In 2018, they attacked Kenyan security agencies in Mandera. And also in 2019, you can remember the unfortunate incident at Dusit 2 Hotel in Nairobi, in which 20 people were killed. And also here now comes on January 2020, where they attack a significant military target inside Kenya. So this has been a trend for the past 5 years, where the group has been stealing the show on January.
Indeed, and of course it is something that will draw the attention of both Kenya and Somalia for the weeks ahead. Thank you so much, Mohamed Mohamed, joining us there from Mogadishu. Now, earlier we spoke to Dr. Mustafa Ali, a security expert, about the implications of this attack on the Kenyan army base.
It's a daring attack by Al-Shabaab to ostensibly to score some propaganda points so that it can use that for propaganda purposes in Somalia and around the world. Al-Shabaab has had in under 3 weeks high-level, significant attacks with significant toll on populations, and now on a U.S. Kenya-run military camp. The place is, of course, they needed some intelligence to be able to know what they are going to attack. But more importantly, is just to have the terrorists go in and then breach the security of the airstrip and then use those pictures for its propaganda purposes. You can see that after the attack in Somalia, where it killed almost 90 civilians, you saw that the Somali government started accusing a foreign country of sponsoring Al-Shabaab, which is highly unlikely. That country would never sleep with a group like Al-Shabaab for any particular reason. And now you can see that countries, states, are starting to accuse one another, and Al-Shabaab is happy about that. It is a strategy that Al-Shabaab is using, and the more they can pit countries together, the more they can cause countries to blame each other, then the happier Al-Shabaab is going to be, and the populations are going to ask, why are countries not working together?
Well, let's take a short break now. Here's what's still ahead on the program. Ugandan activists want a 2009 bill governing marriage implemented. And celebrating the Kagoro Festival of Hunters in northern Nigeria.
Images may appear to be identical, but looks can be deceiving. The difference is not always obvious. It has to be discovered. There are always different sides to a story. We put the focus on the details. To see more, to understand better. CGTN. See the difference.
We start in Libya now, where the administration in the east of the country has voted against Turkish military intervention in Libya. In a statement issued on Saturday, the parliament also told the UN Security Council that it doesn't recognize Fayez Sarraj as the head of the Tripoli-based government of national accord. Yasser Hakim looks at Benghazi's reaction and whether it can stop Turkish intervention in the North African country.
Egypt and the Arab League have welcomed the parliament's decision to reject the maritime and security agreements which allow Turkey to send troops into Libya.
According to the constitution, the internationally recognized parliament in the East should approve any deals with foreign countries, especially if it's a military agreement. Parliament rejected the deals with Turkey, which makes the deals annulled. The Parliament will then take the case to the Security Council to ask for sanctions against the GNA and to gain international support to stop Turkey from intervening and sending troops.
Parliament has also supported Khalifa Haftar's Libyan National Army in its fight against the GNA and Turkish forces. In spite of the vote, experts say it would not deter Sarraj from receiving Turkish troops.
Now, Sarraj and Turkey will try to override the law and continue with their military intervention. What should happen is to concentrate on the Berlin Initiative based on a dialogue and the negotiations to reach a solution, but these developments will delay any possible peace efforts.
Meanwhile, Egypt, along with several EU countries, are trying to push for dialogue rather than escalation in Libya. The parliament's decision might have stripped Turkey from the legality of sending troops to Libya. But it seems that the escalation will continue and that the parliament vote will not change anything on the ground. Yas Hakim for CGTN, Cairo.
Human rights defenders in Uganda are pushing for a law governing marriage and divorce. The activists are concerned that the absence of this law is denying women the right to own property in the event of a marriage dissolution. The 2009 Marriage and Divorce Bill was tabled in Parliament 10 years ago, but it's yet to be passed into law. CGTN's Hilary Ayesiga reports.
This couple has been staying together for 4 years now. They have not formalized their marriage according to Ugandan laws and traditions.
It was an invitation home. We both felt that it was more convenient to stay together and probably try to attempt to start a life of two. And apparently it is working out.
Cohabiting is not a recognized form of marriage in Uganda. Many cohabitants argue that they need enough time to know each other. However, rights defenders say this arrangement affects women during separation.
Ladies lose out in a sense that property division, or even rights in the family are kind of minimized. So my opinion would be there should be an equal share, or equal responsibility, or equal privileges to either side.
In neighboring Kenya, a law has been passed prohibiting cohabitants from getting benefits in the event of separation. And in Uganda, promoters of Marriage and Divorce Bill 2009 are pushing for a law that recognizes cohabitants as married couples if they have lived together for more than 3 years.
There should be harmony in the law that provides for both parties that whenever there is a separation, probably both parties should be beneficiaries of what they have made together as a couple, whether they are married or not.
But they are also cautious about extortionists.
I think it should also be done fairly. Like, it would be so unfair. Sometimes, now, for an instance of us, the females, sometimes you'll find that the woman doesn't actually work. She has not sweated with a man anywhere, anyhow, and then when the divorce is happening, she needs 55% of the man's wealth.
For 10 years now, Ugandan lawmakers are debating on a law that will help protect and promote family values. But as the debate rages on, rights defenders want equity to be emphasized in marriages. Hilary Yisiga, CGTN, Kampala, Uganda.
Northern Nigeria is well known for its rich cultural heritage and festivals. One such festival is the Afan cultural celebration by the Kagoro people of northwest Kaduna State. The community is surrounded by the Afan, meaning huge rock. At the beginning of every year, they gather to celebrate and worship the rock, which they believe is their refuge and protector. Here's more from CGTN's Kelechi Emekalam.
A beautiful display of culture in Kagoro, a people predominantly hunters and farmers in Nigeria's northwestern region. Hundreds of thousands of locals join their traditional rulers in celebration of a bountiful harvest for the previous year. It's also a day set aside to worship the Afan, translated to mean the rock. The mountainous scenery and cultural display has put Kagoro community as a prime destination for many tourists. And the centuries-long tradition sees the rock as a deity which protects the people from their enemies.
It will interest you to note that a Fan Festival, which is a national one, is the second biggest festival next to Arbungu Fishing Festival in the northwest zone of Nigeria. Our theme for this year, unity as a springboard for development.
It is a rock. It gives us, in geography, it gives a strategic position for clouds to settle, and then you have more rainfall in this area. It represents a sign of security. It represents a lot of things. You will see it's difficult for anybody to come from here to attack our people because the person doesn't know the terrain of the mountain. It is our people that understand the terrain of the mountain.
The festival is celebrated with great splendor in line with historic specifications. Selected hunters sanctify the hill by burning it to announce the beginning of a new hunting expedition. They return to the foot of the rock to pay homage, carrying the heads and skins of animals.
Hunting has been our tradition for generations. We are here to showcase our hunting heritage to the world. Many do not understand what hunting entails. They only see the meat in the market and buy it. So this Afan festival is to display our rich hunting culture.
Aside the excitement this festival brings, it's targeted at promoting unity and tourism. The celebration, which ushers in the new year, has been a tourist attraction for many years, and the people are certain to uphold that culture for centuries to come. Kelechi Emekalam, CGT and Abuja, Nigeria.
And here's what's coming up in your sports news up next. South Africa's women's football team hosts AC Milan captain Valentina Giacinti at the Soweto Soccer Clinic.
How would you create your legend? On the fields, on the tracks, in the arenas of Africa. Were you born to be a player? Could this moment be yours? Sports Scene. Find your game.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
In your sports news, South Africa's national senior women's team have enjoyed an incredible 2019, qualifying for their first World Cup and boasting several nominations at the upcoming CAF Awards. But despite their achievements on the field, players like Thembi Katlana and Refilwe Jane are hoping to contribute off the field too. CGTN's CS du Plessis has more.
Refilwe Jane made history earlier this year as the 27-year-old signed for AC Milan to become the club's first ever black South African player. Jane, known as Fifi by her teammates, says she has made a smooth transition since signing from the Australian club Canberra United.
The Italian league is not an easy one to play in, but I've gelled in very well. I'm hoping to grow as a player. You know, we are more tactical than anything else, so I'm hoping to improve my game, contribute positively to the club's success, and hopefully qualify for the Champions League towards the end of the season.
With over 100 appearances for the South African national team, Refilwe Jane has established herself as one of the first names on the Banyana team list. And now the 27-year-old AC Milan player is aiming to give back to the township where she grew up playing on its dusty streets.
I'm hoping to get more players playing football and also studying. I know the power of sports, I know the power of education, so mine is to touch lives. If I can see more players coming out of the dusty streets of the townships, becoming something better in future, that is what I'll be happy about.
Jane has invited her AC Milan captain Valentina Giacinti along to assist with her coaching clinic in Soweto. And the Italian international is honoured to be representing Italian women's football and sharing her experience with the young girls finding their feet in the sport.
I have been welcomed in South Africa and they have been very hospitable to me. I am here to support Fifi as one of my teammates, specifically to support the launch of a foundation as well as the movement of women's football, because we are the role models and it is very important for us to stand out.
The Banyana vice captain hopes to launch her foundation in the next few months, where other coaching clinics will take place. But the emphasis won't just be on the field, it will be off of it too, as she encourages more girls to go back to school and make sure they get an education, so that whether or not they make it as footballers, they have options to forge other careers beyond the beautiful game. CS du Plessis, CGTN, Soweto.
He stands as the most successful volleyball player in the history of Egypt. 35-year-old Ahmed Salah has scaled the heights of his sport in his country and beyond. CGTN's Adel Al-Mahrawi brings us the story of this Egyptian sporting legend who's won every trophy in Africa and some in Europe.
In the club's world of African volleyball, Egyptians are the kings of the continent. Among these champions stands an alpha, a living legend. His name is Ahmed Salah. Since he was 6, volleyball has been his life. He grew up with Africa's record holders Al Ahli, but everywhere Salah went, the trophies followed.
My international experience was very successful. In my first year in Turkey, I won 2 competitions. It was the Europeans Cup, and in that competition I won Best Player, Best Server and Best Spiker. And we've also won Turkey's Cup. My second year was also good. It was experience that enriched my skills. My dream now is to end my career at home with Al Ahly. The club has found me and it has the right to get what remains in me for the sport.
When he came back to Egypt, he joined Talaa Al Jaish from 2014 to 2016. In these couple of years, both national titles deserted Al Ahly, Zamalek, and came to his team. Under his leadership, Talaa Al Jaish has won its first African title, the club's championship. 16 years serving the Egyptian national team, Salah has played in the Olympics, World Cup, and World League.
The only thing I haven't achieved is to win an international title for my country, and that's a very difficult mission. But who knows what the future carries.
Salah's talent attracted the attention of the world. He has won at least 27 personal awards in domestic, African and world competition, including the best spiker in the 2011 World Cup. In 2017, the International Federation considered him one of the best players in the history of the game. This 35-year-old athlete is one of few people known who would get such a recognition while they're still active in sports.
I used to watch Ahmed Salah when I was still a cadet. He is one of the best players Egypt has ever seen. There is no doubt he is an exceptional player. His wrist is very fast and he has an amazing control over the ball. We rely on him greatly in the national team. His presence gives us a push and we see our opponents concerned whenever he is there. No player has such an effect. He is like Mohamed Salah in football.
For Egypt, Ahmed Salah is a humble living volleyball legend. Adel Mahroui, CGTN, Cairo.
And over to motorsports now, where two-time Formula One champion Fernando Alonso is making his debut at the 2020 Dakar Rally. Since leaving Formula One, Alonso has